So guys, thank you guys for coming and being a part of this. Welcome.
Okay.
Let's jump right into the questions that we have for this morning. Tell me, and this is an interesting question because we have different things that we want out of relationships and matches, but sometimes there's things that we actually need from the relationship. What did you guys need from this relationship that you guys created? And Javon, you can go first.
Well, what I needed from the relationship was someone that I needed someone that could talk to me and about things that I could do to better myself, because at the time when we first matched, I didn't really have any real guidance as far as how to be a better person on a day-to-day basis. My mom was at work all the time, and my father figure that I had at the time, because my biological father was not in my life, he, was not the best example. So he caused me to have a lot of behavioral issues in school and not a whole lot to rely on as far as where to go next and how to get better, so I don't be an example of, being negative and having a lot of issues going as I got older. So Jacques was an example that I could look up to, so that's what I needed from the relationship.
What I needed from the relationship, I learned about Big Brothers through a newspaper article. I had did some mentoring through some community programs in Wake County and through some of the churches that I was affiliated with, and I just wanted to just make a difference in the life of a young African American male. I was at the time I was working in the prison, and I just saw how so many young men ended up incarcerated just for lack of knowledge. They never had anyone to encourage them, to tell them that they were special, that they could be anything that they could be. And I mean, I didn't really know how it was going to play out. I just said, I'm just gonna give it my best effort, and it couldn't have turned out better.
Yeah. So did you have any expectations? Did you think about it prior to, like, I'm expecting this or I'm expecting that from the relationship? Did you have an expectation of any sort?
I mean, I really didn't. I didn't know. My expectation was that, okay, I'm going to get matched with someone, and I just hope it's someone that's serious about wanting to better themselves, and that's going to adhere to the advice and and the things that you share with them. And Javon knocked it out of the park, for his checking off those boxes. I mean, he was, very, very attentive and responsive, to the ideas and suggestions. I mean, consistent with, the things that I was taught by big brothers and sisters, is to be inclusive, for example, when you're going to have an outing, just don't let it be about what I want to do or even what Javon want to do. I mean, we would sit down, hey, what does the day look like for each one of us? And then we, collectively say, hey, you know what, we're just going to go to the mall and hang out today, or we're just going to go over to the farmer's market and just hang out or whatever. It wasn't about, what I wanted to do or what he wanted to do. It was shared experience, for lack of a better word.
Now, you mentioned your mom. How has the relationship with Jacques and the mentoring relationship impacted your family, if any? Has it impacted your family?
More so my mom having to worry less, I believe, is more of the impact it has had, because I haven't gotten suspended or ISS or anything crazy like that. It's only gotten better since when I was younger. So it's a lot less stress for her as far as me going out in public and not having to worry about getting a phone call about me doing something wrong or that kind of thing. So it was just more so a less for her to worry about, as far as family.
That's great, because that's definitely positive impact on the entire family.
Yeah.
Mom is less anxious and less worried. That's definitely very helpful.
Yeah.
What has surprised you both about this mentoring relationship that you have? Any surprises that came forth in this relationship?
Well, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
What I think is most surprising is how consistent me and him think. It's kind of different because we're not in the same age group, but a lot of the same things that me and him talk about are kind of things we both experienced or he has experienced, and it's almost like to the T with the things that I am going through currently. So it's like our conversations are so basically spot on to what's going on, and it kind of caught me off guard because I never thought I could meet someone that can really just be like, yeah, this is specifically what I've dealt with at one point in my life, so this is what I did. It's kind of hard to meet people that are as consistent like that with you, if that makes any sense.
That's a great point, because a lot of conversation about millennials and intergenerational kind of relationships, but I mean that's amazing that you felt like, here's Jacques, obviously, he's an adult male, but you felt like you can share and bond with him, and you guys had a lot of commonalities and similarities,
right? And
even your thought processes about things, which is pretty awesome. Jacques, how about you? What surprised you?
Is Javon dedication. I mean, he, I know men, we need to see a man, and to be up and have that closeness, and but just for Javon to the things that we talked about. I mean, I remember early on just telling him that education was the key. When we first met, I mean, he didn't have any desire to, I don't know, his grades was real bad. He was getting suspended, and, and then I just started having some conversations with him about, hey, just Javon's willingness to just adhere to guidance, and when I would give him advice and say things to him, I mean, the next time we would meet, he would give me examples of how he implemented that advice. I mean, a lot of times, even with my own kids, it's not. It don't happen that fast,
Right.
That the process takes a lot longer. I mean, but he was like, hey, so that was, I guess, I don't know the best way to say it, just his willingness to, and his desire to be, to buy in, and do what it takes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the word that you use, hungry. Javon was hungry. Now think about the best moment that you guys have had, and you over the past 8 years, you've had some great moments, wonderful moments together. I know it's difficult, but I want you to kind of highlight one. I know one for me personally, with you guys match. I know a lot of people would say the big night ball, but I would say at a STEM event at Cree. And I remember we were going through the tour, and Javon asked the question, what do I need to do to get a job here? That's what I need to do. And that really impacted me, and it speaks to that hunger that you were talking about. Yeah. And I saw the light bulb come on, and like, okay, I see what we've just experienced. How do I get to experience that? You know, so what was some of your favorite kind of moment between you guys?
Actually, it wasn't the night of the big night ball, but it was actually right before the big night ball, like that day earlier. And me and him had a conversation because although that night went really well, Jacques was really nervous about what he wanted to say, and he had like note cards with him and stuff, and I had mine. But it was like right before we got there, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I actually don't want to use these note cards at all. You know what I mean? And he was like, kind of like still nervous. So I was saying to him, I was like, if we lived it, you know, we shouldn't have to read anything off of it. It was something that we both experienced. So it should come from the heart. You know what I'm saying? So that was the kind of conversation me and him had right before that night. And I guess that's what, helped him a little bit during his portion of the speech during that night. So that was my favorite moment with him, or, you know, what I consider the greatest.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah.
And for me, I mean, there was so many. You know, I always reference that first one. I think that first time in the park. I mean, but then also, I remember us sitting in that airplane at on the UPS STEM tour.
Yeah.
And we was out at the airport, and we got a chance to sit up in the, you know, to go through the whole plane, and we was just, you know, sitting up in the cockpit, you know, and you know, just the things that was going through my mind, and some of the things I said to Javon, you know, I mean, just how many people actually get a chance to sit in the cockpit of a airplane. I think it was a 747.
Yeah.
And you know, and again, just along that theme of encouraging and just, you know, the sky's the limit, and you can be all that you can be if you put the work in and stay consistent. And so that day stands out. Like I said, there was so many, but just, I don't know, there was just something about that airplane that day that, and, you know, the thoughts that was going through my mind. And, you know, at that point, I think, you know, Javon and I had really, we had a real relationship at that time. You know, it takes time for you to get to know each other. And by that time, you know, we really knew each other, and just to see his expression that day in the airplane was awesome.
It sounds like you had an epiphany in that moment that, hey, the sky is really the limit.
Absolutely, yes.
The sky is really the limit. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what is the greatest challenge you guys have experienced in your match over the 8 years? I know matches have several challenges throughout the course of their matches. What is one of the greatest challenges you all experienced?
I'd like to go first with that one. I would say the greatest challenge, one of the, we went to, I think it was an NC State career fair, and I'm having a senior moment now, Javon. What's the young man name that we met that became Eric? Yeah, so Eric, he was a volunteer from NC State. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Eric became instrumental in Javon's growth and development as well, because they established a relationship, and he kept in touch with Javon over the years. And we went to his graduation at NC State. He graduated in textile. But anyway, we was at that graduation, and Javon was in middle college at that time, and he was at a rough point with his academic challenges. And, you know, I was very disappointed, you know, because, you know, Javon had, as I alluded to earlier, he had listened to me over the years, and he had made a few decisions without consulting with me. And and I never wanted to be like, hey, this is what you got to do. But I strongly believe that, you know, you need to get good counsel before you make important decisions. And he had made some decisions, and it was kind of to the point where I thought our relationship was going to end, you know, and because we missed a lot of the graduation activities, you know, because of the discussions that we was having. And afterwards, we went and got some pizza, and we just started talking, and we kind of, you know, made up, you know, Javon kind of alluded to, you know, he basically said, hey man, I'm sorry, I apologize, you know, I should have consulted with you, you know, I made a bad decision. I mean, he said, I still don't know what I'm gonna do right now. He said, but I'm gonna figure it out, you know. And so at that moment, I was like, oh man, you know, I kind of was a little too forceful, you know, and, you know, but to me, it was like, okay, you done work all this hard and you almost got here, and you're gonna kind of just let it unravel, you know. And that was my fear. And just, you know, just thankful of, you know, we both was humble enough and respectful of each other enough, you know, to sit down and have conversations, to admit that neither one of us are perfect, and to admit our mistakes, and to get a plan and move forward. And to realize that ultimately it was Javon's decision.
Right.
And it was his life, you know. I was just, you know, just trying to just make sure that he get the counsel. And I'd always tell Javon, you know, just not just my counsel, but talk with the counselors at Durham Tech. You know, I would consistently tell him, the night from the big gala, there was a lady that was a doctor that had graduated from Jordan, and she gave him his business card. A lot of these professionals gave Javon his business card. I said, Javon, tap into these people.
Yeah.
Reach out to them, you know. I said, you ain't in this by yourself, you know, because a lot of times, you know, Javon would say, man, you ain't in my shoes. You don't know what I'm going through, you know, and he was right, you know, and, you know, you don't know the stress that I'm under, the things that I have to endure. And, you know, so I was, you know, on my way home, I would, as I was reflecting, I was like, yeah, you're right, you know. He has to endure a lot, you know. You know, it you know, and it's not a normal environment in some of the things that he had to endure. I mean, so as I'm talking right now, I mean, his accomplishments is even much greater, looking at the environment that he's in and all the things that he had to endure. But just to overcome that moment of where I felt like he was at the point where he wasn't, you know, that he was like, okay, I got this now. I don't need you no more, you know. So yeah, you know, but for us to sit and talk that out.
Javon, was that similar? Was that your experience as well, as it relates to your greatest challenge?
Yeah, by far.
Okay.
I mean, because, you know, we've had different discussions and probably not agreed 100% on a whole lot of things, but yeah, that was like the peak. And I think that's probably going to be the only peak, because, you know what I'm saying, now I'm back on track of what I'm doing. But I mean, of course, we're going to disagree about things, but that was definitely what I felt like the biggest challenge. Yeah.
So Javon, now you're finishing up your, tell me where you are exactly. You graduated from high school, and tell me a little bit.
I'm 2 classes away from a degree as of now.
Wow. An associate's degree?
An associate's degree.
In what subject matter?
In the arts, and then to transfer to, I haven't decided university yet, but to transfer to a university and complete a bachelor's in criminal justice.
Awesome. That's awesome. So as we wrap this interview up, it's 2020. Let's say fast forward 15, 20 years from now. Javon, you'll have your own family and children, and Jacques, I'm sure y'all still will be talking with each other, but you might be in a different stage of life. What would you tell people about this match that happened over the past 8 years? What would your story be?
My story would be, to other men is to reach out and to give back and to pour into a young child, especially a young African American child. Just pour into them and just spend some time with them and be consistent with it. I know Javon has mentioned to me that, for a while he didn't think that he thought that I was just gonna just come in and go out, and for the last 8 years that, for the most part, twice a month, every other week we've gotten together. And, then there was some periods where it was every week. And to just be consistent and, with just pouring into them. And it's just, like I mentioned earlier, some of the fears that you have about big brothers and big sisters is going to give you the resources that you need to establish a good relationship. You just need to put in the effort and spend the time and be sincere and be consistent. And education is the key. But the sky's the limit, man. You can do whatever you want to do. And I just want to encourage, other men. I'm passionate about African American males, but they are, males of children of all races need mentors. And so just reach back and help somebody out and just be consistent with it.
Yeah. Very well said, Jacques. Very well said. Javon, how about you? What would your story be in the next 20 years?
My story, I just feel like any child that's, trying to join and put themselves in a better position, I would say be open to different things, because I feel like that was kind of where I struggled most with the relationship. It was kind of like, I want to do one thing. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I would just stay to that. So it was like, with the help of big brothers, big sisters throughout the relationship and with moving forward, is giving me a new look on being able to do other things outside of what you really truly think you want to do, and just have other experiences. Don't put yourself in one box. Like he stated with teachers and, teachers putting you in a box. Don't put yourself in a box. You know what I'm saying? Saying that, oh, I only want to be one thing. I only want to do this. When sometimes stuff happens, you might not be able to exactly do that depending on your circumstances. So having different options, it's all about options. So I feel like that's kind of what my story was, going to different companies and going on tours to see other people do things that maybe they didn't even want to do when they first started. They wanted to be something else, and then they end up doing a job that not only gives them benefits, but they're happy with. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I feel like is a solid starting point for most people to look at outlook. I would say, what would their main goal be? If they want to be a mentor or be a match for someone, what do they seek from that relationship? I feel like if you have an idea of what you want out of a relationship, both parties meeting and coming to common ground will definitely get to that point. I feel like having an understanding of the impact that you want to have.
Yeah, that's great. I know I put you on the spot a little bit there, but it's powerful. What kind of impact do you really want to have? And so thank you both for leaving such an incredible, I would say, legacy for you, Javon, and Jacques. For the next 15, 20 years, this is going to be your story, and it will continue to go. I believe that mentoring is generational. It's not just impacting Javon's life, but it's now going to impact his children and then their children. So his generation of line will never be the same as a result of the time you invested, Jacques, into him and Javon, what you invested into Jacques, because it is vice versa. It's not just a
Right.
one-way street. So thank you guys both for investing in each other and creating something very special that will continue to tell your story for years to come.